Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad to welcome you back to our show again tonight. It's been a little while, so we're happy that you're joining us. If you can get involved in what's happening. And then we do encourage you that if it's your city, to be sure to take down the person's name and email and phone number. And then if an issue comes up or one that we talk about tonight is important to you, be sure to be in contact with them and let them know what you think or ideas that you have. So we're glad that you're joining us, and tonight we're going to be dealing with Crystal. We're very happy to have Julie Deshler, who's on the Crystal City Council, update us a little bit, because we haven't had anybody on from Crystal for a little while, so we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be participate in your show.
And now you're doing a new public safety building, and it's sort of, well, first, how long have you been working on the idea of making some changes to your public safety city hall building as it is now?
Well, I recall 8 or 9 years ago being in discussions with the police department that they really felt like they needed an updated facility. So we've been talking about it for quite a while. And it wasn't until the last but Public Works needed one worse. And so they kind of got priority. And, we can't afford to do both at the same time. So sadly, the public, police department got kind of put on hold and had to kind of sit and wait.
Right.
But it's crunch time now. They need a new building. It is pretty bad. I mean, bad.
Right.
So now it's their turn. And so we've been talking about it for a couple of years. What would be a good site? Should we make a big compound at, say, the community center? That was up for discussion. Could we change the grade level at where the old Public Works facility was and bring it up out of the floodplain zone and build there, because we already own the land? But in the end, they decided to keep, kind of build a new building just specifically for police, but keep it at the current location.
So they'll tear down part of what's already there?
At some point.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they're going to build the lion's share of it, it's my understanding. Now, again, we're kind of in the original planning phases.
Right.
And I did give you preliminary possible plans.
Yeah, we'll put those up so people can look
they're
at
talking
them.
to Wold Architects. We've only had one meeting with Wold Architects at the council level, where they showed us. But I'm sure there'll be some tweaking.
Well, and you've been getting ideas from people for over a several year period.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had public meetings in regards to it yet?
No.
Okay, because that's kind of where you're coming really up to, because you got to have some kind of plan for people to look at and say, yes, I like it, or no, I think you should do, or...
Yeah. Well, for the police department, the public won't probably have much say in the design.
Okay.
Right, because they... unless they're an architect, or at least if they don't live in the police world, if you will, you wouldn't really know how to build and design a police department. Where this Wold has designed many
experience, and they're going to put plans together for you.
Right. What the public has something to say about it is, should the council spend the money on it or not?
Right.
That's where they'll get involved. But in my opinion, it's a done deal. We've approved it, and it's a go.
So when will work move ahead on it? Because you have to get the plans first.
Yeah, the final plans will be done sometime later this year.
Okay.
And then they'll send the bids out for the construction. And they hope to start construction early 2021 with occupancy the middle of the year 2022.
Okay. Yeah, it takes quite a while to do that kind of program.
But, the way it's designed now, it's very inefficient. The jails are so antiquated. I mean, they remind me of Mayberry RFD show jails.
Right.
And no, we don't house people there overnight anyway, but even so, if you're going to spend 8-10 hours there, Although, I mean, if they're not comfortable, I don't really care.
Right.
If they're in jail, there's a reason
Right,
for it. So,
right.
but you still want them to be
Oh,
clean.
right. Well,
yeah.
and then the whole policing area has got a lot more involved with internet and computers and
Right,
access and
Yeah, they need updated office space. The patrol division, they virtually have nowhere to sit down and even
Yeah.
write out a report because they're so cramped. And you know, when this building was built for the police department, there was virtually no female police officers.
oh, true.
And so, you know, they need to have facilities for both male and female.
Right.
For especially for lockers, showers,
Yeah.
things like that. And, you know, our armory where we keep the guns, that is not up to code.
Oh, yeah, that's an important area.
Right. And they need a safe place to be able to clean the guns too. You
Oh,
know,
right.
that's, I don't know, so if there's something accidentally goes off or something.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other big thing is, you know, when you have cases and you've got evidence, our evidence is a little, you know, it's different locations within
sure.
the police department. And, you know, when you have to hold evidence for years and years,
yeah,
we're
for-
running out of space. And you can't take the chance of taking your evidence off-site because you lose the chain of control
yeah,
of
then
evidence,
it
and it could
makes-
affect the outcome of a trial.
Right, right.
So there's many reasons that they
Oh, lots of them.
need and deserve a quality, efficient police department. You know, it's not going to be Taj Mahal, but
Right.
it needs to be.
Expanded to what you need.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to set up the plan so that it's a building that could cover them for 50 years because,
Ah.
you know, we're a fully developed suburb
Oh, right,
already.
right.
So I can't imagine a ton more police officers unless we
Well.
have, you know, 900,000 high rises go up or
Yeah.
something. But, you know, just for office space needs and training.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited for them because they deserve it.
Okay, then will the city hall part and the police department be more separated, or will they be two buildings or all in one?
I think
or-
that there'll be kind of two buildings, but
Okay.
yet there'll be some kind of
Connected
a
somehow.
connect. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
so it will be nice that they're still there. It'll be interesting, you know, for me to sit and look at plans. I have a hard time visualizing it until I actually see the structure.
Oh, right, right.
So I'll be interested to see how the parking works.
Ah, right.
You know, because I think that's where people pull in now to pay their utility bills and park to go right into City Hall. I think that's kind of partly where that new police department is going to
Yeah.
be. So during the construction phase, it's going to be interesting.
Be a little tricky during
Yeah,
that
it's
period
gonna
of time.
be challenging.
Right. So for people that are following that kind of thing, they can step in right now and follow the whole process along if
Yeah.
they wish.
We'll be having quite a few more meetings
Oh,
about this.
definitely.
It isn't set in stone, but
Right.
you know, my hunch tells me it's
Moving
gonna,
forward.
It's going to move forward
Right.
in some way. Yeah.
Okay, there's the Blue Light Rail project
Yeah.
is been in process for quite a while now. I don't even know how many years.
Oh boy, I think
Maybe-
it's about 20.
Glenn, can you give us a little bit of the history behind it?
Well, I'm on the Connect Blue Line Now coalition, and it's
Okay.
a group of people from around the cities that pass through the route passes through.
Right.
So it's a few people from Minneapolis, Hennepin County, of course, Golden Valley, Robbinsdale, Crystal, Brooklyn Park, and then people from the cities of Brooklyn Center and New Hope.
Oh, sure.
Because they're so close.
Oh, right, so close to the whole thing.
Well, this has been a plan that's been going on for quite a while,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
90% completed in terms of design and the path. And I don't know. I can't seem to get the straight story about what is stalling it up, but my take on it is that Burlington Northern, basically, we didn't buy the land ahead of time.
Right,
Like we maybe should have. That would be.
yeah.
I think that there was always a thought that when it came time to be done and ready, it would be just an easy peasy, Burlington Northern would turn over the land and we'd give them money. But what I've heard, and Burlington Northern will never probably say this publicly, but
Right.
we've all heard it, is that at one point Canadian Pacific was bringing in all those rail cars from
Right.
North Dakota with all that oil.
Right.
And they would get into town and they were backing up something fierce. And so Burlington and Northern, I think, made an agreement with Canadian Pacific and said, hey, we've got some track that isn't really being used. Why don't you come into Crystal with your rail cars, your oil trains? We'll put a connector, we'll build a connector from the Canadian Pacific track to the Burlington Northern over by Thomas Auto Body. And you could reroute them and alleviate some of your backup or your clogging of
Right.
oil cars. Well, the cities, Robbinsdale, Crystal, New Hope, we all got together.
Oh, I remember
along
that.
with Hennepin County, and we killed it.
Right.
And I mean, in the state legislatures, bless their hearts, they worked very, hand in hand
Right.
because the railroads, they have a lot of power.
Oh.
And
yeah,
they have
nobody
eminent,
over 'em.
they can buy anything they want. I mean,
Yeah.
But what happened in this deal is Hennepin County came up and they swooped up the land.
Right.
And it was important that they did that because those oil trains, if they're coming kind of fast and they're taking a connector trail and they're curving kind of fast, one of those things could have tipped over and it could be catastrophe for our residents. So we had to look out for the safety of the community.
Well, and I remember too that if it went through slowly, it could block up all the roads in
Yes,
Crystal that enabled you to get
exactly.
from one side to the other. Go ahead.
So the county purchased that little portion of land over by Thomas Auto Body.
Right.
And then and because the state legislature had passed some legislation that when counties purchase properties or own properties that benefit the safety and well-being of residents or the community, the railroad does not have the eminent domain authority.
Right.
And so the railroad essentially had to back up and come up with some other kind of plans to reroute traffic. And I think that they were fairly deeply invested in that project and
Well,
they were surprised that maybe it got changed on them.
Well, and I think several cities further on down the line were not happy with it either, like
Well,
St.
right.
Louis
There-
Park
yeah.
and Hopkins and.
There was a lot of people that
Yeah.
were not happy with that plan, but in any event, I think it fractured the relationship
Right.
of the county and some of the communities around and Burlington Northern. And so whether that has anything to do or is playing into the
Well-
fact that Burlington isn't selling us or allowing
or
us
giving
to buy
permission
the
to.
right or not, I don't know. But that is the feeling amongst
Right.
a lot of people that that's what's going on. So I don't know what the answer is. And frankly, with the COVID, we are Connect Blue Line Now Coalition hasn't even met for a few
Right,
months.
right.
We are having our next meeting, I want to say on the 6th of July
Uh-huh.
via Zoom. And so maybe we'll get some updates
Oh,
then.
sure.
But that I know of right now, it's just kind of in a holding pattern.
And so actually, most of the work is already that when they get the okay, when they get the mutual agreement between the railroad and the Blue Line, they
Right.
could move ahead.
Right.
So how long that'll be is anyone's guess.
Yeah, exactly. And we are encouraging, people like Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith and the Congress people to reach out to Burlington Northern and say, is there anything we can do collectively together to
Right.
reach some kind of an agreement and
Right.
move this along?
Find something else they would like.
Yeah, right. So
And
that's
then-
about all I know on it right now.
And then also part of the LRT project is that there is a station for this up-and-coming LRT line in Crystal, right? Where will that be?
that it will be right at the Becker Park.
Okay.
Yeah. Our one station will be at Bass Lake and Botno Road,
Uh-huh.
number 81.
And can you tell us a little bit about the planning for the station?
Well, it isn't, there isn't gonna be like, say, any kind of an indoor facility.
Okay.
Or it'll be kind of a platform.
Okay, a place where the train stops and picks up
Right,
people.
and then places for maybe 75, 100 cars to park.
Uh-huh.
At least that was what was in the plan. Whether that'll change or not, I don't know.
Yeah,
but-
it's still in kind of a betwixt and between stage, although a lot of work has been done on it.
Oh, millions of dollars has
Right.
been spent on the design phase of this. And, there are residents that are for it, there are some
Oh,
that are
right,
against it.
right.
I personally am not a big fan, but
Right.
I have to look beyond myself and I have to think 50 years out.
Oh, yes.
And I do believe, it would be great for, residents to be able to jump on the train, go downtown, have dinner, maybe watch a show, go to a ball game, and then jump on the train and
Right.
come home. Or people flying in at the Crystal Airport
Oh, yeah.
could park their plane and then, walk over the platform and go to a meeting. So, people that want to go to school at North Hennepin Tech can
Oh,
get there
yes.
easily. People that need to get to jobs, with the expense of having a car. There are so many benefits. There might be a few negatives too.
Right.
But I think it's necessary, and I think it's needed that the entire metro area be serviced by some kind of transportation.
Oh, definitely.
And we need to finish, the plan. We need to have a route that goes from north to south, and then downtown and then south.
Right.
So I think once it's all finished, I believe that it'll get much more usage too.
Oh, right. And I think they've met their goals on the other lines for how many riders would ride it,
Yeah.
sometimes surprising themselves.
Right.
So I
Right.
think it's definitely needed. I know when we've visited cities that have nice rail lines that you think, why don't we have this back home?
I know. I mean, when I did some traveling in Europe, and I know I went to Seoul, Korea, and they have these underground subways. It is just amazing. You can get anywhere on them.
Right,
And they're efficient. It's a good way to move people
Right.
fast and efficient and keep cars off the roads.
yep. So eventually, maybe. But I
Eventually.
thought we needed an update, even though
Right.
it's hard to know what's going to happen
Well, it's
next.
disappointing too for so many because you spend years and years and you have hundreds of meetings about it.
Oh, yes.
And we've had so much community engagement too.
Oh, the most I've ever seen about anything, I
Yeah,
think.
and then it just stalls out. It's
Yeah.
just like, come on. But
Yeah, we've got a little time to talk about the fact that cities need volunteers.
oh boy, I'll say.
And maybe you can tell us about some of the commissions or committees that people can volunteer on in Crystal.
Yeah.
So those of you that are interested in getting involved a little bit, here's some ideas.
Well, we have the Planning Commission.
Okay?
We have Park and Rec
Uh-huh.
Commission, Environmental Quality Control, and then there was like Historical Society.
Uh-huh,
They're kind of trying to get up and running.
right,
And we have Metropolitan Advisory Council,
uh-huh,
and that's something fairly new. We used to have like a Human Rights Commission, but we didn't have, we had maybe 2 members on it, and
Oh.
it was, I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was operating well. So this Multicultural Advisory Commission
oh,
is, comprised of the police department and any members in the community that are interested. They
Uh-huh.
meet once a month and they talk about, inclusion. How can we reach out to all walks of life
Right.
and all nationalities in our community? And that's something, I think that we've been participating in for the last year or so.
Oh,
And
that's
they're
awesome.
always looking for people to come and engage
Right.
in that community, that
That's
task force, if you will, too. But we've kind of also gone to task force if there's a
Uh-huh.
certain project that we need.
Oh, right,
So we had a task force, for instance. We took our city code. It took a couple of years,
uh-huh,
but comprised of 14, 15 residents, and they went through line by line of everything in our
ah,
city code, and we had pages and pages of antiquated, outdated
Right.
things. And they cleaned it up and they made it more sense.
Ah.
Makes more sense.
right,
So that's finally done. So, and if there's something else that's another, issue that is important to the residents, we can form another task force at any time to deal with those particular issues.
Well, and that's a good way to use people's time and save the city council time for
Yeah.
let them gather all the background and information and then bring it to you on the council.
Right, well, yeah, they make their recommendations, and usually, like the Environmental Quality Commission, there's some real bright people down
Uh-huh.
there. And they have some real scientific knowledge
Right,
about recycling and the earth and all that. You know, that is not a skill set of mine. So
Right.
I need to depend on them to advise me what makes the
right,
most sense.
right.
You know, we can know a little about a lot of things on the city council, but
Very
I
true.
don't know a lot about everything.
Right.
Does that make sense?
True, true. And so it's very good to have task force and commissions and committees
yeah.
to do some of the basic beginning work and gather the details that you need to use to make a decision.
No, we rely on them quite a bit.
Now, are there any task force that are meeting now in the city?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
Not
but
that I
that's
know
something
of.
people can be aware of, watch for when they publicize that, if they're interested. And then what's the process if they want to be on one of the ongoing commissions? How does Crystal handle that?
They just go to the city website, or they
Okay.
can go inside the city hall now because
Okay.
we're open again. And you fill out an application, and like 2 times a year, we do commission interviews.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, people might be interested in, say, the planning commission and the EQC. If
Right.
there's an opening on EQC, then, and they feel like it's a good fit, we feel like it's a good fit for them, then we appoint them.
Right,
Yeah.
and then usually it's like a once-a-month meeting that they have?
Most of them are once a month, yeah. And there's another thing is the charter commission, but that
Oh, right.
that only meets like once or twice a year.
Uh-huh.
Then I think there's like an employee advisory, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, that meets just once or twice a year too, unless there's specific instances where they need to meet
Right.
more. But all of the information is at the city hall about any volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, so they can gather information about what these different groups do,
Mm-hmm.
and they could go to one of their meetings if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
To get a
Yep.
feeling for,
Yep.
is this something that,
All those meetings too are posted on the city website.
right, I was just gonna say,
yeah.
they'd all be posted so people could know when they're going to meet. But it's really important for cities to get as wide a group of people involved as you can.
Absolutely it is.
What are some of the benefits that the city gets from all these volunteers?
Well, yeah, they gain a lot. When I've been in some of these interviews for the commission
Uh-huh.
candidates, they are some very impressive people
Uh-huh.
with some very educated, very bright. And I hate to say this, but I think to myself, holy cats, they're like way smarter than I am.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But you know, it is important that you get a collection of knowledge from all walks
right,
of life,
right.
and you have to hear differing ideas and opinions, so that you can together make the best decision, or what you think is the
Right.
best decision, in the best interest of the community, if that makes sense at the council
right,
level. So.
right. Yeah, you need to get ideas from different sides of points of view.
Yeah.
And then the council has to struggle with how putting that all together
Yeah.
into something meaningful for your city.
And there are other ways, you know, that you can volunteer in the community too. For instance, you know, Crystal has a Lions Club.
Oh, right.
You know, they do litter pickup. We usually, not this year, but we usually do like a corn feed
Right.
at the park. We do steak fries that the local schools can host and make have
Right.
fundraisers. There's the Rotary Club that Crystal
Oh,
Robbinsdale
right,
New Hope
right.
Rotary Club. That's another great way to meet people in the
Right.
community. You know, there's the Toastmasters. There are any number of things that you know, if you want to get involved in the community, you can. You just
Oh,
have to
right.
sometimes do a little digging
Right.
to find out. But
But start at City Hall or they can call you.
yeah, they can call me and I
Right.
can, yeah.
Now, Crystal, like our other cities, are working on keeping your neighborhoods vital, attractive, strong, so people want to move in and are happy being here. What kind of plans does your city council have for keeping up your neighborhoods?
Well, we have code enforcement.
Okay,
So, for instance, if most of the complaints that we get are from us as council people are neighbors that don't mow their lawns.
uh-huh,
So a neighbor will call and say,
Right.
you know, my neighbor 2 houses down, their lawn looks like it's a hayfield. Loud music, you know,
Right.
noise complaints. Fires, you know, we allow backyard
Right.
recreational fires. But if they're too late at night
Mm-hmm.
and they're too smoky and they're not burning wood, they might be burning something
Oh,
else.
right,
You know, we try to keep an eye on making sure that residents do their part
Right.
to keep their property up and be good stewards of the community and be a good neighbor.
oh, definitely.
Yeah. And we encourage, you know, like the night to unite,
Oh, yeah.
you know, neighbors getting together and knowing each other so they can keep an eye on the neighborhood. And, you know, if you're going to go on vacation, a couple of your neighbors that you trust know
Right.
they can keep an eye on your property. We have like social media sites like the Light of Crystal. We're involved in Nextdoor.
Oh, right,
So residents, you know, can jump on those sites and also see what's going on in the community. You know, if there's a farmer's market coming
Oh,
up,
right.
or a movies in the park, or any number of things. But
and zoning is also part of that whole process? In keeping certain kinds of buildings in
yeah, we
certain
try
kinds
to
of
keep
areas?
the business
Uh-huh.
district, and try to keep commercial businesses out from the middle of a residential area, just because people don't want to live next to
Right, right,
somebody that's doing sheet metal work has 3 shifts going or
right.
something.
Yeah, a lot of the zoning work happened in past city councils a long time ago, but sometimes you have to adjust it
Yeah,
as
sometimes we
time.
tweak it. But, you know, things evolve, things change in
Right.
the world, and we try to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, people might have maybe a framing studio and they want to run it out of their home.
Right,
But and you have to make allowances for
Oh,
people to
right.
make a living. But you want to make sure too that those businesses fit well within
Mm-hmm.
the confines of a residential neighborhood.
and you have certain code kinds of things they need to keep up with if they do that,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So if people have any questions about that, they can go back to the
Yep,
city
it's all on,
development people.
it's all on the city website, and if they have any questions, well, they can reach out to me and I could do the research
Right.
for them, or they call the community development. We have a great community development team
Uh-huh.
on site, and they're always so willing to help.
Oh, that helps a
It-
lot.
it is.
Yeah.
I really am proud of the staff that we have at Crystal. They do a nice job. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wave my thank you at you since we don't shake hands nowadays. But I appreciate your coming and sharing all these ideas about Crystal. And we'll encourage those of you out there, if there is an idea that interested you, follow up on it.